My name's Martha Boisel. I've been teaching here at Brighton High School for 13 years, and I'm an ESL 3 teacher, an ESL 1 teacher, and I'm also a lead teacher here. Who wants to read the language objective? Jay.
Students will be able to explain their evaluation of bias in sources using signal words of fact and opinion.
Today's lesson in the entire unit is based on women's rights. The language objective was for students to be able to evaluate a source and pick out the signal words for bias using opinion signal words like I pronouns, and also for facts being able to pick out words like studies show or different percentages. What evidence do we have with jobs?
Or they don't get paid the same as men.
They don't get paid the same as men for the same job, right? That's a good one to put down.
I learned how women are not considered equal as men, even though they would do the same hard work. And if we look at the world today, women are participating more compared to men. So, and they're still, if they have the same job, they would being paid less compared to men. So that's kind of a big, I think that's discrimination for women, because that's not right.
The class is made up of 10th graders all the way to 12th graders, and we have students from all over the world in that class. And they really do learn a lot from each other and can use each other for support.
We would talk as a group. We would do conversations. She would ask our opinions.
We definitely have a few different proficiency levels. We also have students that are former SLIFE students. So, I take all of those things into consideration when I'm grouping the students and when I'm choosing the work to do for the day. All of the MCUs that we've done all have a social justice lens, so that students are really taking away critical thinking skills and they can feel empowered.
Because they're selling beauty that's not real.
Because they're selling beauty that's not real. That's a real, let's hear for Anthony, that was a good one. The units, for me personally, have really changed how I teach. And so what is this commercial trying to do? It's almost like a transformation. Like being a part of this has just given me so much knowledge on how to be an effective ESL teacher. Because when you're an ESL teacher, you have state standards, you have access and WIDA, and you also have the Common Core, and you have people questioning, do you have to give them content knowledge? And so by really evaluating the state's new definition of ESL instruction and creating the focus language goals and using the Wiggins backward design, we really can make a very explicit unit that continuously is teaching language throughout the unit. So you think they're trying to convince girls to look like that? We use all different types of assessments. Today I was walking around, checking in on them, in on each group, asking some clarifying questions. Okay, here's your ticket out. I also did a ticket out with them, and then they did some work individually that I can look at. The end of the unit assessment is a big project where it's a performance task, where they're really taking everything that they've learned and connecting it to a real world event, an idea. There's a lot of choice, so students can choose certain videos that they want to do. With this kind of assessment, it's really great because you can really, as a teacher, differentiate what each student's working on.
So even if you agree with it, it's still an opinion. Good.
In planning a lesson like this one, I really had to take into account that I was putting together all of the skills. And so I used a commercial that didn't really have any language in it until the very end, so that didn't get in the way of being able to assess that students were able to find the main idea, the details, and decide if it was fact or opinion.
He's showing what other company does.
So I engage students in high levels of critical thinking. The focus language goals really help to support that by ensuring that you're using WIDA standards with Common Core and also the depth of knowledge, or Bloom's taxonomy, in order to make sure that there's critical thinking going on throughout the unit, especially at the end in the performance task, but also that you are scaffolding that so that students can actually attain those skills.
Wow, great work. persuade like that weak.
They're showing that girls are weak.
Yeah, like to persuade like society.
Great.
Yeah.
Good job, write that down. Our students come with a wealth of knowledge and information, and tapping into that in every lesson can really not only engage them, but also creates a learning experience for everyone in the class, including myself. Is it a fact or opinion? A lot of the sentence stems that we use in this unit, starting with dependent clauses that are a little bit more advanced, they're reusing those in their other classes. I'm checking in with their other teachers, and they definitely are reusing them, and they're using them the following year too.
How could we make this sound like a fact? Where? In the United States. Then it would be a fact. Do you see the difference?
As an ESL teacher, you are your own content. And so we're not teaching them the content of other classes, but we really can make sure that they're learning, the language that kind of overlaps all of the content.
So when we face some obstacles that, you are in school, you come from another country, you don't have the right accent, and you have some students that make fun of you, a lot of things, but we have Miss ESL to help us and then to give us confidence for us to continue studying and keep doing better.
My advice for teachers would be to really be able to download the units and look at the resources on how to use them, because the number one thing that was really great for me was learning how to create those focused language goals and really learning how to create a performance task that uses language throughout the unit that you're looking at. Which one's your fact side? This one? Good, 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 good.